My wife's parents have been leaving their spare key on our porch every morning for 6 weeks and I'm losing my mind. I, 34M, have been married to my wife Sarah, 32F, for 4 years, together for 7. Her parents live about 20 minutes away, and until recently, our relationship with them was fine. Not great, not terrible. Her dad, Mike, is one of those guys who talks at you instead of to you. Her mom, Linda, is quieter but has a knack for little comments that stick to your ribs. I always figured it was just standard in-law stuff. About 6 weeks ago, the first key appeared. I opened our front door to leave for work, and there it was, sitting dead center on our doormat. It was their house key. I recognized the ugly, rubber ladybug keychain Linda has had forever. I texted Sarah from my car, "Hey, did your parents leave their key on our porch?" Sarah called her mom. Linda brushed it off. "Oh, silly me, I must have set it down when I was leaving yesterday." Which made no sense, considering they hadn't been over yesterday. They'd been over 3 days prior for dinner. Sarah, who has a lifelong habit of making excuses for her parents' controlling behavior, said her mom was probably just confused about the days. The next morning, the key was there again. Same spot. Same ladybug. I brought it inside, and Sarah called her mom again. This time, Linda claimed she'd stopped by to drop off some magazines, realized we weren't home, and absent-mindedly left the key. There were no magazines. This became our reality. Every single morning, that fucking key was on our porch. Sarah would return it, or they'd swing by on random visits to grab it. Every time, they had a new, flimsy excuse. Mike was just in the neighborhood dropping off tools. Linda was checking the lawn for grubs. After 2 weeks, I forced a sit-down over coffee. I tried to be diplomatic. "Hey, so this key thing keeps happening. Is everything okay? Are you guys forgetting where you put things?" Mike actually laughed. "We are not senile, if that's what you're implying." "I'm not. I'm just concerned." "We appreciate your concern," Linda interrupted, flashing a smile that didn't come close to reaching her eyes. "But I think we're managing our belongings just fine." "Then why is your key on our porch every morning?" "We keep finding reasons to stop by, and we're forgetful," Linda said smoothly. "Is it really such a burden for Sarah to return it? She's our daughter." The conversation went nowhere. The next morning, the key was back. I started documenting it. Every morning, 6:47 a.m. Sometimes it was moved an inch to the left, sometimes propped against a planter, but always there. Sarah got defensive, telling me I was overreacting. I started losing sleep, waking up in a cold sweat just wondering if it would be on the mat. 3 weeks in, I installed a Ring doorbell without telling Sarah. I needed to know. The footage from the first night made my stomach drop. Linda arrived at 1:47 a.m. She walked up our front path in jeans and a sweater, placed the key on the mat, stood frozen staring at our door for a full minute, and then vanished into the dark. When I showed Sarah, all the color drained from her face. She confronted her mom. Linda denied it at first, but when faced with the video, she claimed she was just checking on us because she had concerns about our safety. She wouldn't elaborate. We set hard boundaries. Sarah sent a text demanding they call before visiting. The key appeared the next morning anyway. The new footage showed Linda at 3:22 a.m. But this time, she didn't just drop the key. She tested our doorknob. She found it locked, gently set the key down, and left. I was done playing nice. I called Mike. "Your wife tried to open our door last night." There was a long pause on the line. Then, completely deadpan, "We are concerned about Sarah. We want to make sure she's safe from making choices she'll regret." "What the fuck does that mean?" "Sarah has always been easily influenced. We just want to make sure she's thinking clearly. We have a right to be concerned." He hung up. That was 4 days ago. The key still appears every morning, but things have escalated. Last night at 2:11 a.m., Linda didn't just leave the key. She stood facing our closed door for 3 full minutes, her mouth moving in a silent, continuous whisper. Then she took a flash photo of our door and left. Sarah went to their house 2 hours ago to demand answers. She won't answer my texts. I'm sitting here watching the Ring app. It's 6 p.m. Linda and Mike are standing on my porch, just staring at the camera. Linda is holding a grocery bag. My phone is ringing. It's Sarah. Fuck. Update 1. Sarah was hysterical. She was locked in her parents' bathroom, crying so hard I could barely understand her. I was watching Mike and Linda on my phone screen, still frozen on my porch. "They have a whole fucking room," Sarah sobbed. "About us. About our house." She said she arrived and they were eerily calm. They poured her tea. They told her she just didn't understand the full picture, and led her to the guest room to show her how they were protecting her. The walls were covered in paper. Printed Google Maps of our street. Dozens of photos of our house from different angles, taken over months. Pictures of me leaving for work. Pictures of Sarah getting the mail. A massive calendar tracking our every move, my gym days, her book club, my exact work hours. There was a timeline of our relationship. Linda had written too fast next to our engagement date, and Sarah stopped calling as much next to our wedding. Worse, there was a list titled Concerning Behaviors. It was entirely about me. Doesn't attend church. Discourages family dinners. Isolates Sarah. Sarah, I interrupted, staring at the ring feed. They are on our porch right now. No, they're here, she insisted, panicking. I can hear them in the kitchen. Then, through Sarah's phone, I heard Linda's voice offering more tea. Sarah, I said, my blood turning to ice. Who the fuck is in that house with you? I heard her open the bathroom door. A gasp. It's a recording, she choked out. They have an Alexa playing a loop of them talking in the kitchen. Get out. Run. Through the phone, I heard the front door open, and Mike's actual voice echoed, Sarah, honey, you don't need to leave yet. She sprinted. I heard the car door slam and the engine gun. As she sped home, I watched the ring feed. Linda bent down, placed the grocery bag in front of our door, smiled directly into the camera lens, and waved. Then they walked down the block to where they'd parked out of sight. When Sarah got home, we brought the bag inside. It was 12 cans of fancy cat food. We don't own a cat. Attached was a note in Linda's handwriting, for when you're ready. While we were staring at it, I remembered something from the footage a few nights ago. I pulled up the app and zoomed in. Linda hadn't just been standing near the door, she'd been looking under the mat. I walked outside and lifted the doormat. There was a key underneath it. It wasn't the Ladybug one. It was a brand new copy of our house key. Sarah collapsed against the wall. 3 months ago, she thought she'd lost her keys at the gym for a few hours before finding them in her bag. They had copied them. They've had access to our home for a quarter of a year. We paid $200 for an emergency locksmith to change the deadbolts immediately. Afterward, we tore through the house, looking for anything out of place. But how would we know? If they were coming in while we slept, taking photos, moving things back exactly as they found them, how would we ever know? Sarah finally answered one of Linda's incessant calls and put it on speaker. You broke into our house, Sarah said, her voice shaking. We have never broken into anything, Linda replied calmly. We have a right to know you're safe. You made a copy of my keys. Don't use that tone with me, Linda snapped, her voice suddenly dropping an octave. I know you better than anyone, including him. And I know you're not thinking clearly. We found the papers, Sarah. In your bathroom. The divorce lawyers. My stomach plummeted. 2 months ago, Sarah had used our computer to help a friend look up divorce attorneys. We've been preparing, Mike chimed in. We have a room ready for you at home. We've been watching to make sure he doesn't hurt you before you can escape. He's never hurt me. Sarah screamed. Not physically, perhaps, Linda said. But you've lost weight. You're anxious. You're trapped. We've been documenting his isolation tactics for when you're ready to file. You'll see it eventually. We'll make sure of it. They hung up. Sarah hyperventilated until I had her breathing into a paper bag. They actually believe I'm abusing her, and they are building a delusion-fueled case against me. At 6:47 a.m. the next morning, the key was on the porch again. This time with a note, we'll always have a home for you. We're the only ones who truly love you. The police said it's a civil matter unless there's a direct threat. I'm looking for lawyers, but I keep thinking about that room. The timeline. How long have they been planning this? And what exactly are they planning to do next? Update 2. I feel like I'm going crazy. I need people to tell me if I'm overreacting or if this is as bad as I think it is. Yesterday, Sarah agreed we should stay at a hotel just to clear our heads. We packed a bag, didn't tell anyone, turned off location sharing, and drove 30 minutes away. It was just a Holiday Inn Express, but it had a door that locked, and for 12 hours, we finally slept. This morning, we were having continental breakfast in the lobby, talking about driving further out to disappear for a bit. Sarah actually smiled for the first time in a week. Then she went to the restroom. I was scrolling on my phone when someone slid into the chair across from me. Linda. I actually jumped and spilled my coffee. Hello, she said smoothly, like we'd run into each other at a grocery store. Is Sarah in the restroom? I'd like a word. How the fuck did you find us? I demanded, my pulse roaring. A mother always knows where her child is. I'm calling the cops. You followed us. I drove here independently. There's no law against that. Sarah emerged, froze in terror, and begged her mom to leave. Linda refused. She pulled out her phone, opened a tracking app, and showed us a blinking icon over Sarah's location. Your phone, I said to Sarah, panicked. Sarah's hands shook as she checked her settings. I never set this up. I did, when you were home for Christmas, Linda said casually. Over a year ago. Parents worry, honey. I grabbed Sarah's arm. We're leaving. Wait, Linda stood up, pulling a manila folder from her purse. I didn't want to do this, but you're not listening. I had to get proof. Proof of what? Sarah choked out. Linda opened the folder and slid a glossy photograph across the table. It was a picture of me. I was sitting in my car, talking to someone in the passenger seat. A woman. Who is she? Linda asked quietly. I knew exactly when the photo was taken. 3 weeks ago. My coworker Janet's car was in the shop, and she had asked for a ride. We'd sat in my car for maybe 10 minutes while she finished telling me about work drama. But out of context, framed by a stalker in a hotel lobby, it looked like a betrayal. And Linda was smiling. Update 3, final. I'm writing this from a location I won't name. We aren't at the Holiday Inn anymore. We aren't even in the same state. After Linda showed us that photo of me and Janet, I thought Sarah was going to collapse. Linda just sat there with this serene, terrifying look of triumph. See, Sarah? She whispered. He's already replacing you. He's isolating you so he can move his other life in. I didn't defend myself to Linda. I looked at Sarah and said, it's Janet. Her car was in the shop 3 weeks ago. Check my Slack messages from that day. Check the GPS. Sarah didn't even look at the photo. She looked at her mother, really looked at her, and I saw the last string of her childhood loyalty snap. Get away from us, Sarah said. Her voice wasn't shaking anymore. It was dead. If you follow us again, if you look at me, if you even speak my name, I will make sure you spend the rest of your lives in a cell. Linda's smile didn't falter. We'll be waiting at the house, sweetheart. We've already started moving your old things into the room. We didn't go back to our house. We drove straight to the police station in the town where the hotel was located. We showed them the Ring footage, the tracking app, the photos of the stalker room Sarah had taken, and now, the proof of them following us across state lines. Between the stalking and the unauthorized key duplication, we finally got an emergency restraining order. But we had to go back to the house one last time to get our things and the cat. The actual police escorted us. When we walked into our bedroom, I expected it to be tossed. I expected a mess. But it was the opposite. The house was spotless. They hadn't just been coming in, they had been living in our house while we were at work. I found a receipt in the trash for a grocery run they'd made using our kitchen. They had been cooking meals and then cleaning up every trace, except for the cat food. I finally realized why they'd left it. I went to the guest room, the one we'd talked about turning into a nursery one day, though we'd decided to wait. They had finished the room. The cat food wasn't for a cat. In some twisted, dark web corner of Linda's mind, she had associated the brand Fancy Feast with a nickname she had for Sarah when she was a toddler, My Little Fancy. The room was filled with Sarah's childhood toys. Her old crib from 30 years ago was set up in the corner. And on the pillows of our own bed, they had left 2 items, a set of adoption papers for me to sign, relinquishing any rights to future children, and a suitcase packed only with Sarah's clothes from high school. The coming soon, baby whisper on the Ring camera? It wasn't about the key. It was about the reset. They didn't just want Sarah to leave me. They wanted to turn her back into a child. They wanted her back in that crib. We've sold the house. It sold in 4 days because we priced it to move. We didn't even show up for the closing, we did everything through a power of attorney. We changed our numbers. We deleted our social media. My company was amazing and transferred me to a different branch halfway across the country. But here's the thing that keeps me up at night. A week ago, we got settled into our new place. It's a high-rise with 24-hour security and keycard-only elevator access. I felt safe for the first time in months. I went out to the balcony to look at the city skyline. I looked down at the railing. There, sitting right in the middle of the metal ledge, was a small, rubber keychain shaped like a ladybug. No key. Just the ladybug. I haven't told Sarah yet. I can't. She's finally sleeping again. But I know what it means. They don't need a key anymore. They're just letting me know they found the door. Hi there, if you made it so far. Consider dropping a like and maybe subscribing. Thanks. And have a nice one.